Okay, tonight's topic, like I said, is opening your heart after pain. And we're just going to get right into it. Um, my sweet talks will be topic based. And like I said, this month, for the month of April, it will be opening your heart after pain. But each month, I plan on having a different topic each month. And today being the first day, this is my prototype. This is the beginning of it. So it may or may not change. It may be audio next time. It may be, it may come in different forms. But for today, the platform is Facebook Live video. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And I have my notes here because I wanted to make sure that I pass on everything that I need to pass on to you. So, the way I'm going to do this is I have a word, and I'm going to use the letters from the word to kind of keep my notes in order. And hey, Latia, thank you for coming. And to kind of help you kind of remember the steps that I'm taking. And like I said, although it feels like this is a whole process, this is the beginning of a process, okay? So first of all, we have to recognize and admit that we have a closure. I know that sounds like that's kind of crazy, like, hey, I know that sounds like it's crazy, but a lot of times we don't even admit that we have a closure. And I can tell you an example. I was married for 23 years, and I know you guys have heard the stories, but I'm going to tell it again. I was married for 23 years, and once I went through my divorce, I think I told you guys the story about how I was attracting all of these crazy people. And you guys, I'm an advocate of online dating, so I was doing online dating, offline dating, and speed dating. I think once I got a divorce, I was like, all those things that weren't available before I got married, that seemed like they were so exciting, those are the things that I tried once I got a divorce after 23 years of marriage. And so I tried all of that, and it was funny because I used to always question myself, why am I attracting all of these crazy people? I mean, it was people, I've said this before, they were lacking the basics: transportation, jobs, and homes. It was grown people, y'all, grown people. And it seemed like everybody I talked to was in one of these situations. They either lack home, transportation, or a job, and sometimes all three of them, and it was a pitiful thing. And I was wondering what the heck is going on with me. And I think part of my problem, and even though I said I know it was my mindset of how I grew up, it was also, I didn't realize that I had a closure in my heart, which means these people I were attracting, I knew there was no way I was going to, develop anything further than, dating. And I think it was unconscious. It was an unconscious thing because I honestly wondered why I was attracting all these crazy people. And then I believe in my heart it's because I didn't realize that I had a closure, and that closure was not going to allow me to get that close to anybody for the chance to break my heart again, to go through heartbreak. Because trust me, when I say been there, done that, I got the t-shirt, I got the mug, I got the sprinkler things they give you, I got the program and the flyer and all that other stuff to go with it. So I definitely know that journey. And this is why I wanted to choose this. Hey, Suzanne. This is why I chose this as my topic, because I understand. I know that when you're in that place, it seems like it's so hard to come out of, but I know that it's possible. And I want to go through 5 things tonight, touch on 5 things tonight to kind of help you, if you're going through it, or someone who may find this useful, you can share this video with, that they may be going through. Because it does feel like an end. It feels like an end, and the reality of it is an end. It's the I'm not sure what's going on, Latia. Hopefully it gets situated. It is an end, but it also is a beginning as well. So I'm going to get started. So before Latia get kicked out again, like I said, first of all, you have to recognize that you have a closure. And the first thing is, the word that we're using is admit. We have to admit that we are going through a process. Okay, good, Suzanne. That's good to know. Okay. A, acknowledge that the closure exists. And I just told you about me in the situation where I was at. I didn't even realize that I had a closure. And a lot of times we know it's like it's on the verge of our heads. We know we have a closure, but we're not going to admit it. I was speaking with a young lady, and she was saying things that were contradicting her intent. So, for example, she was saying, you know, I'm happy with where I am. I don't feel like I can go through that again. Besides, no man is going to want to be with me the way I am now. And to me, that is saying that you have closed your heart. It's not because you want to be in that space, because otherwise you wouldn't have even referenced what men would want of you, or how you've changed, and how that will affect the men who come into your life. Sometimes we don't even realize we have a closure, and we say things that contradict. And it's like, it's almost like you can't even speak your world, because you don't know what your world, you don't even realize that you're contradicting yourself. Another sign that shows that you may not be aware that you have a closure is when you say, okay, I don't need a relationship, I'm happy by myself, I don't want to get into that. But then you look at another couple and you see how loving that couple is, and you make statements like, man, I wish I had somebody who would look at me like that. And that's a closure, because you're contradicting yourself. You close your heart to the possibility, and yet you still long for that. Otherwise, you wouldn't long for it. It wouldn't be something that you wouldn't even have that conversation coming out of your mouth, saying what you want to happen, and then in the next breath saying that you don't want it to happen. So the first step, you guys, in getting your heart open, is to realize that it's closed to start with. The second letter is D, and that D is decide what path you truly want to go on. And in that decision, what I mean by that is, a lot of times we get to a point where, like the example I gave, the young lady who was saying, I don't want a man, I don't want to, be in a relationship. You have to be honest with yourself. And this is going to be the hard part. This is probably going to be one of the hardest part. And this is being honest with yourself. Because you're saying it, and and every night you go home and you're looking for, and you're saying there's no good men. And if you're not looking for a man, why does it matter? You have to decide what path you want to be on. And that can mean you don't even want to be in a relationship, but you still have to. It doesn't mean that you're trying to jump out and go get a man to be with, or a woman to be with, or whoever. And it just means that you're open to the possibility of having someone to care for you, or having someone to care for. That you're open to the possibility of that. It's not the decision that I'm going to go and date this person, or I'm going to never date a person again. That's not the decision that I'm talking about. The decision is making a choice that says that I am willing to go into a situation with somebody else and take a chance. With my heart that's been broken. Suzanne, I have similar conversation with other people. You're right. Be honest. Right. And the hardest person to be honest with most time is ourselves. It's like, I see a lot of women, and today we guys know that the economic field is a little tilted a little bit, where women are making a lot more money than a lot of men. And we're in different positions than the men that we may be attracted to. And once we get in those positions, we start, saying, why I'm not chosen? What is, and then we get to the point of, I'm an independent woman. This is where I really believe this statement came into. We start saying this, I'm an independent woman, I don't need a man. And I honestly believe, as I said before, that is like the sour grapes. You're saying that because you feel as if you're declaring something that you don't believe that you can get. So you say, I don't need a man. It's like the sour grape story. I don't know if you guys remember that from school or not. I'm older. So I'm not sure if you guys got this story about, you're not being able to get what you want. So you turn it into your head into something that you really didn't desire to start with, because you really just can't get it. And I believe that's where the whole statement of independent woman, I don't need a man, all that mantra came up, is because there are a lot of people who were in situations who felt as if that's what they were not being able to get, so they made it into their sour grapes of their life. So decide what you want. Decide that you actually, you actually want a relationship, or you want to be in a space where you're open for it. That doesn't mean tomorrow. That doesn't mean next week. It means you can take 3, 5, 10 years, whatever amount of time that you need, but at least keep your heart open, where you're not closing people out because you're afraid of whatever pain you've been through, and you're afraid of repeating that same pain. it's very important to know your intent. Like I said, this is one of the maybe the hardest, and this is very important. You have to know that that's what you want. Exactly, Suzanne. That's exactly what I'm talking about. They use it to deflect, not actually having a relationship. Yep. That's exactly what I feel too. It's a sad situation because there are a lot of good women out there. And I think what it is we get so caught up in what we have, we think that qualifies us. We don't realize that not only is what you know, the things that you accumulate materialistically, but you have to think about your attitude, the way that you treat people, the way that you treat yourself, and the way you think. It's just a whole bunch of different things that come with it. The things that materialistic stuff, if it mattered that much, we wouldn't be out here yelling and waving flags talking about we don't need a man. If it mattered that much. And I'm not saying that everybody needs somebody. I'm not saying that everybody wants to be in a relationship. What I'm saying with D, when you decide which path it is to decide that whether or not you do, decide what your intent is. If you know that you want something more, stop saying the crazy stuff. Stop, right, attitude is key. Your attitude is key, because attitude is going to make what you say come out of your mouth, and you're going to build up your world. And this is this perfect segue for M. M is be mindful of what you say out of your mouth. Be mindful of the world that you create, because what you say is what you create in your world. You have to be mindful. For all those guys out there that's saying, I'm just going to stay single for the rest of my life because all these women are crazy. That's exactly what you're going to get, a whole bunch of crazy women. The women who are out there saying, all men are dogs, and, that is exactly what you're going to attract, because you're speaking it. Your words are your world. Your words create your world. You have to be careful about what's coming out of your mouth. And, that's going to bring me to I. I is your intuition has taken a hit. You have to learn how to trust it again. This is a trip, and this is a trip for me. When I was in my marriage, you go through things and you realize, when something come in and it smashes stuff, you realize you start doubting yourself. You start, positive thoughts create positive results. When things come into your life that causes havoc inside of it, and you feel like you weren't prepared for it, you start to doubt your intuition. I am a very, very extremely intuitive person, so much to the point my mom used to call me her baby psychic because I have a way of, if I speak with a person, 3 to 5 minutes, maybe not even that, I can pick up your aura. I can pick up, it's a strong sense of discernment where I can almost see what's happened in your past. I know this is strange, but I can feel where you've been, in a sense. And so when I lost trust in my intuition, that was a huge part of me. Because growing up, I didn't even realize that I was doing anything that was special. I didn't even realize I was doing anything special. I have these dreams, and I talk to my mom about it, and things come to pass, or things are, things I shouldn't have even known about. I was speaking out of my mouth as a child. When I went away to the military, I knew things that were happening at home. It has been a strange, I won't say strange, it has been a different type of life. Trust and believe that. It wasn't until maybe a few years ago that I even spoke this out of my mouth to anybody. Spoke that type of thing out of my mouth to anybody. It's not something that, I can turn on and turn off and say, okay, you come here and I can tell you this. It's not that thing. It's just it's a deep feeling that I get. So anyway, I'm saying all this to say, when I was younger, I thought everybody had this same thing. I thought everybody was able to do the exact same thing. So when I got into my marriage, I am embracing my gift much more now, Suzanne. I am actually, I am going on a spiritual retreat in a few months, and I want to get in touch back with me again. I'm finding me again too. In this whole journey of finding you again, I'm finding me again too. You're not just traveling by yourself. I am traveling right with you. I have found so much more of who I am since my divorce. I am finding so much good in marriage. And I think it's supposed to be this way in a sense, but I think sometimes we let go too much. We start letting go of who we are to build up our families. I was wife, I was mom, then you have the, sister and friend, and you as women, we have a tendency to take on everybody else's needs, and we put ours on the back burner. And so, I was talking earlier about who my client would be, who my ideal client would be for the people who, who I feel like I can help the most. And, it's those people who have gone through life, who have taken on all these different people, have taken care of all these different people, in the process lost ourselves. And I think when we get to that point, it's usually, after we kind of settle into our careers, we've settled into our life, we got the kids, pretty much taken care of. And then when they leave, or when they get to a point like divorce or whatever, you realize the person who you were stuck with is you. And I had to get to know myself all back over again. And finding you again, that's where the name came from, because it's finding me again. And it's been such an awesome journey. I remember, you start remembering who you were, who you always thought you were, before you got into the situations where you start giving of yourself without taking for yourself. So it is it is a serious thing. So the I in admit is intuition. Your intuition have taken a hit, but you have to learn to trust your intuition again. It's always been there, and you have to forgive yourself for ever doubting. You have to forgive yourself. And that's where I was leading with the intuition. I didn't realize that I was holding myself to blame for things that I felt I should have seen, for flags that I let go, for situations that I we're only human through. I didn't realize I was blaming myself for those things. And we have to learn to trust our intuition again, and to forgive ourselves and move. That's it. That's all you can do. You can move forward. And you have to realize that all that stuff that you went through, and all the crap and the lessons, that's exactly what they were. They were lessons to get you to where you needed to be. I am so happy who I am. And I know that if I took away anything from my past, I would be a totally different person. And that would be so disappointing to me, because I feel like I can feel me blossoming. And that's an awesome feeling. That's where I'm trying to get everybody. T. And that brings us to T, which is trust the journey. And trust the process. Trust that the universe is going to help you. Trust that the universe have your back. Universe, God, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, whatever you want to call it. Trust the universe that live inside of you, that it has your back, that you're going to be okay. I talked about, you how awesome it is to know that no matter where you go, God is already there waiting for you, has already fixed everything up, ready for you to take all the lessons you need to take and to keep moving. And so you have to trust that journey and trust the process, that you are going exactly the way. As long as you're moving, as long as you're moving forward, you're going the direction you're supposed to be. I talked before about it was in Africa somewhere. They have this organization, and they tell a story of the river and how we are that river. When you start trying to paddle against the current, you start bumping into sides and everything. But when you let that trust the flow, when you trust that flow, you're going to get to where you're supposed to go. And that's the part of trusting the journey and trusting your intuition. Now this is day one of Sweet Talk with T, the first Tuesday. And this is I believe it's the first step to opening your heart after pain. It's to first acknowledge that your heart is closed, because if you don't know that you have something going on, how do you fix it? Right? Trust the flow. How do you fix it if you don't even realize that you have something going on? So many of us we're in spaces where we're so defensive, we're so scared that we've lived in that fear for such a long time. To live in fear for a few minutes is bad. To live in fear for years. I've talked to people who have actually lived in that fear for years and are not even realizing that that's what they're doing, but the decisions that they're making is a symptom of that fear. When you go out there and you just date all the wrong people, you attract all the wrong people, and you know they're wrong, but yet you still, that's part of the symptom of that fear. Symptom of not feeling like, maybe I'm not going to find somebody. Maybe I'm going to be alone, or maybe I don't deserve it because, I should have saw all of the signs that were there before. Maybe I deserve to, no, you don't deserve anything. You don't deserve anything that's not of God. You don't deserve it. And you don't blame yourself for it. You take your lessons. You take them as lessons and you move forward. When you continue to live in the foolishness, when you continue to live in the, lesson, you're not going to graduate. You're not going to get to the next step. And staying in stuff, staying in crap because you're fearful of what the other side is, it's a lesson that's going to get repeated over and over again. Example, you are in a relationship that was very unfaithful, in a very unfaithful relationship where loyalty was gone, the betrayal was all over the place, and you get out of that relationship. You get right back into the exact same type of relationship, and you stay there, and you know that this is not, for you. You know that a person who cares about you don't treat you that way. You know that you don't have to be anything other than yourself to be in something that's good, but yet you stay in that space. And that's when you do something like that, you're doing it out of fear. And that fear, like I always say, is you have made up a fantasy for the future that has no fact, and you living with that fear of that fantasy. I won't even call it a fantasy. You have projected forward something that has no basis for a fact, and you living in that, and you're afraid to move forward from that. So you're stuck in that fear, and we have to move out of that. And this is day one. We're going to go through the process. We're going to go through the whole process of what you need to do to get your heart open after pain. But the first step is to admit that you have a closure to start with. I'm not going to, go all the way through with this again. I went over the ADMIT, the admit, the signs and the symptoms that you go through, understanding exactly what your intent is, deciding which path you want to go. Don't fool yourself. Be mindful of what you say. Be mindful of what you say. Your words speak. You speak your world. What come out of your mouth becomes your world. You create your world. Your intuition, learn to trust your intuition again. It's taking a hit, but it's to be trusted. That is your God voice inside of you. And trust the journey, trust the process. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. My next Tuesday is April 10th, and we will continue the focus on opening your heart after the pain. Again, if you feel that this can be helpful to anybody, please invite them into the group so that they can get first dibs on the video. I will be sharing it out after I'm done. Or I don't know if I can share that during the process of, but I will be sharing it out, and I ask you to do the same thing. I am closing out my first Sweet Talk with T Tuesday, and I thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you come back next week. I see you guys on the other side. Bye-bye.